Hi, this is Ms. Reiner, and today's video is about pH calculations and titrations. So at this point we have already talked about pH, so you should have a little familiarity with what that is. I thought we would start off with a little humor. So I'm going to take you a second, look at the joke, see if you get it. Hopefully you do, because dihydrogen monoxide is water. And it says it's an acid with a pH level of 7. Well, we know that 7 is actually neutral, and it does have a higher pH than any other acid because acids have lower pHs than water. So ha ha ha, sounds dangerous, but it's not. Okay, so what does pH even mean? So pH stands for the presence of hydrogen in solution. So if you think back to our previous lesson, acids give off hydrogen in solution. So there's a lot of hydrogen floating around. So there's going to be more of it rather than with bases. So if we wanted to calculate the pH of a solution, all we would have to do is type in negative log of the H3O plus concentration. Okay, you've never seen this before. You might be, what is that? So that's called hydronium. So remember that acids give off hydrogen, okay? So when they give off hydrogen, now there's hydrogen floating around and it's usually in water. Well, the hydrogen is so unstable that it bonds with the water. And so there's not hydrogen by itself, the hydrogen bonds with water, and so it creates a hydronium ion. Okay? Don't get scared when you see the log. We're not going into like where that came from, the derivative, none of that. All you're doing is pressing a button on your calculator. So you would type in negative log of whatever the concentration is that they give you. Or if you're looking for the concentration, now remember that concentration is also called molarity. So if you want to know how much hydrogen is in the solution, then all you have to do is type in 10 raised to the negative pH value. So let's do two of these together. So here it asks for the pH given the hydronium concentration. So what formula would we use? pH equals negative log of the hydronium concentration. So we would fill in what our concentration is, 6.3 times 10 to the negative 8th. Remember, don't worry about log. All you're doing is pressing a button. So on my calculator, I would type in negative. I would press the log button, and I would put this number in parentheses. What it's going to give me is 7.2. Now, I rounded that to 2 sig figs based off of our starting value. 6.3 is only 2 sig figs. One more question. Would this be an acid or a base? So the only thing we could look at to determine if it's an acid or a base is the pH value. So a pH of 7.2 would actually make it a base, although very weak because it's closer to 7, which is water. Remember, the ends of the scale are the strongest. One more example. This time it asks for the H3O plus concentration given the pH value. So in that case, the formula we're going to use is H3O plus equals 10 raised to the negative pH. So we would need to type in 10 raised to the negative 3.1. And it's going to give me a small number, 0.00079. You could also write that in scientific notation as 7.9 times 10 to the negative 4th. It's a concentration, so the units we're using are molarity. And I only put 2 sig figs because my pH was 2 sig figs. Last question, would this be an acid or a base? So the only thing that can tell us that is the pH value. So 3.1, that would make it an acid. All right, here's something to consider. So look at this equation. Try to figure out what is going on. So HCl is hydrochloric acid and NaOH is sodium hydroxide. So we have an acid and we have a base. They're being added together, and what are they making? This is interesting. So what we actually have here is we have a strong acid. Strong, remember, that's indicated by its pH value. And a strong acid would just mean that when it breaks apart in solutions, it dissociates completely. So if you go into IB, you'll talk more about this. So we have a strong acid and we have a really strong base. And when those two come together, they produce salt. So NaCl is table salt. But just remember that salt can mean any ionic compound. And they also produce water. That's kind of interesting to me. You have two really strong substances that are corrosive, but you put them together and they make water? Very weird, very weird. We call these neutralization reactions. Look at that word, neutralization. What stands out? Hopefully you said neutral. And what does it mean to be neutral? Well, water is neutral. So what that means is you don't have an acid, you don't have a base, you just have a substance right there in the middle. So what pH value would these products have? If you said 7, ding, 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 you are a winner. So we're going to talk more about these neutralization reactions and calculations that we could do with them. But first, why is it important? Why are we even talking about this? So here's a question for you to consider. Should we flush dangerous chemicals down the sink? Now don't think about drain cleaner here because that's kind of another scenario. But let's just say that in my classroom I found some extra acid that I didn't need. Am I just going to pour that down the drain? Or if I'm at home, I have some old bleach that I want to get rid of. Am I just going to pour that down the drain? Hopefully not. There's a lot of issues that this causes. First thing, it can corrode the pipes because pipes can get really old and they can get damaged by these chemicals, which is a hefty cleanup fee. These chemicals can also damage septic tanks. So some older houses have tanks underneath them that collect all the water in the sewage rather than connecting to like local sewers. And these chemicals can break those tanks. It can let the water leak out and it'll contaminate the groundwater around your house. Or if you are connected to a sewer, a lot of times these chemicals will go through the sewage process, but they'll still make it out on the other side of the filter. So then when that water is sent into our rivers, lakes, and streams, it contaminates them. And you know, there's wildlife that rely on this water. So looking at these pictures down here, the fish can die, can get some nasty algae. You can't swim in it. If there's ducks or any other wildlife that rely on this water, they can get sick and die. So there's a lot of environmental issues that could happen if we don't follow the neutralization process. So what is the proper way to perform a neutralization reaction? We call it a titration. This is where you're going to add equivalent molar amounts of acid and base. So we'll talk about what that means. Sometimes we also do this process because there is a substance that we don't know what the concentration of it is. So then we will use a known concentration of the other. So for the example here, and this is what we would have done in class with the lab, we have this tall glass thing called a burette, and it's going to hold a certain concentration of a base. Well, then we have an unknown concentration of acid, and we would add that base to the acid. There would be an indicator in here. We would experience a color change, and then we could do some calculations to figure out what concentration of acid we would have. So how would we know we have reached the endpoint, aka the equivalence point? So if we were using a pH probe and it was graphing it for us, then we would know when the pH gets to this point, which is 7, that's the end. We have equal molar amounts of acid and base. But if we didn't have a pH meter, how could we do this? So let me show you what it would look like if we were doing the lab. So obviously this is a simulation. It's a little different. So here we have sodium hydroxide in our burette. Down here we have our hydrochloric acid. That's a stir rod, so it's spinning it. We also have some phenolphthalein indicator in here so that we can see the color change, because when the color change happens, that's when we know we're at that endpoint. So normally in class, we would go drop by drop, and eventually you would start to see a color change, but you know, for time's sake, I'm just gonna kind of add a lot. Okay, nothing happened yet. Let's add a little bit more. Okay, still no color change, so we're going to keep going. More. Oh, you saw a little bit of pink there. It means we're getting close. A little bit more. Okay, so now we have a solid color. This is actually too dark. We would do it multiple times to get a better average. But what we can do with this information is, now that we know how much of that base that we use, we can figure out what the concentration of that unknown base was. Okay, so if we were going to be doing the titration, this is the formula we would use. MA times VA is equal to MB times VB. Does that seem familiar to you? It should, because it looks like the dilution formula, which is M1V1 is equal to M2V2. So in this case, M still represents molarity, V still represents volume, A represents acid, B represents base. So the molarity of the acid times volume of the acid equals molarity of the base times volume of the base. One thing to note, in case you're moving on to IB, this formula only works if the mole ratio of acid to base is 1:1. Meaning, if you're looking at this equation, there's no coefficients in front. We only need 1 mole of acid to react with 1 mole of base. If there was a coefficient of 2 in front of sodium hydroxide, for example, that would just add 1 extra step in our calculation. So last thing we're going to do is a calculation together, and then you'll be done. Over here on the right, this was a nice picture of during the titration. You see a very faint pink, and then at the end you'll get this darker pink color. Okay, so we're going to use the same equation we've been talking about. Here it says in a titration, we were given this many milliliters of this concentration of sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is a base. So here's volume of the base, and here's the molarity of the base. So that's needed to neutralize 20 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. So there's volume of the acid. What's the concentration of the acid? So we're going to use the MAVA plus MBVB formula, but what we don't have is the molarity of the acid. That is our unknown. So we have volume of the acid, molarity of the base, volume of the base. So in order to get that variable by itself, you're going to bring 20 over here and you're going to divide by 20. And then when you enter that into your calculator, of course it's not going to give you an even number. So this is what it gives me originally, but if I look back at my question, what's the least amount of sig figs? They're actually all 3. So you're going to keep the 2, you're going to keep the 1, and you're going to keep the 0, but this 9 is going to round the 0 up to a 1. So 0.0211. Because this was a molarity or concentration, then we have to put our units of M. All right, thanks for listening.